Alright, we're finally going to do some assembly. Now, we last visited our roof. We patted on the gray. I hope you can see you can actually still see some wood color on there. Well, don't worry about that. We're going to take care of that when we put on our ink wash. And the edges actually didn't get as spattered up as I have in the past, but again, we'll take care of those later. Right now, we're going to start the assembly process. And to do that, we need, out of our kit, these two little angled cross brace pieces. See if I can get them out. There's one, and there's two. And they've got little tabs on them that go in the slots. Put this back. And we'll bring in our jig that we did on the very first episode. We're going to get those out of the way now. Like maybe I'll push that up. So what we're going to do is put this on here. And we're going to put this on like this. That's where that little thing in the middle goes. We're going to make sure the ends are aligned. And we'll glue these tabs, these little angle braces, in the middle slots. Not the edge slots, the middle slots. And it'll go just like something like this when we're done. Now this is inside the house, or inside the building. So we really don't have to worry about the amount of glue, but we do need to get the edges right. After it's glued up, the next time I'll show you what I mean about butting. I don't think I have another one. I actually do have this is a different scale, but you see how they go in? They don't overlap at all. They just kind of butt up against each other, and that's what that little tab is for there. So let me find my glue. Again, original tacky glue. Seems to work. I guess I can work with this angle. I'll pull that out. Just like I said, this is all going inside. We can be a little messy. We don't have to worry about glue. Too much glue. I'm generous here with my glue, and these things will fit right in those slots. Okay, that's one of them. Unfortunately, I was holding it with my weak hand. Put that down in. There we go, that went in pretty well. Make sure that's squared up. Now let's get the other one. Glue. There we go. Overabundance of glue. Okay. I'm very right-handed, meaning I can almost do nothing with my left, so my son is ambidextrous. He can do anything with any hand. And it seems to me that would be a real advantage. Except when it came to playing baseball, you can never figure out whether to buy him a left-handed glove or a right-handed glove. All right, let's see how that looks. Oops, I didn't get the tab in. That doesn't look good at all. And let me pull that. There we go. Slide it in. Slide that in. Make sure I'm in my cradle. My edges are lined up. I'm just going to pick this up myself. I don't want to tilt it, but I'm going to make sure that everything is lined up underneath that tab. Oh, it looks great. Okay. So now we're just going to let this dry. Like I said, I have overabundance of glue, but that's okay. It's on the inside. There we go. Push that down one last time. Make sure this is even. And that's it. After that dries, we'll be back and we'll install these little ridge vents next. The glue is dried on the braces. So our next step is going to be to install these gable end trims. And they'll fit right in here. And I'm just going to approximate where they go. It'll be easier once I'll leave it in the brace. It'll be easier once I get some glue on them to keep them in place. They don't go very far in from the ends, but they're not exactly on the ends. So let me take one of them. Just put a little glue on the edge. In fact, I think since I'm having a little trouble this morning, I'm going to put the glue on with my toothpick. Put my glue over here in the tray and then dab it on. There we go. That ought to be enough glue. And I'll close up my glue thing so I don't. So we'll just use the toothpick to get the glue on. Now we are going to be painting trim color down on the underside a little later, so if you do get a little over dab, it doesn't really matter. The whole object here is to get it set up at a nice distance from the, an even distance from the edge. Okay. Smooth it out a little bit with my toothpick. There we go. Again, I have the wrong hand for me. Now I'm just going to set it in here. You have a few seconds to adjust it. Make sure it's even distance before the glue sets. I went a little closer than that. I'm going to use another toothpick to a little pusher. Oops, too far. Like I said, we're going to be painting this underside a little later, so it doesn't really matter if you get glue, that much glue on. That's about where I want it. I'm going to hold it there for a second. Wipe off the excess glue with my toothpick. Make sure everything is set again. Press again. We're going to call that side good. Now we just got to do the same thing on the other side. I'll bore you with doing this on camera in case I come up with any wise thoughts for today, which I probably won't. Okay. Get a clean toothpick, don't use your one that you had glue on, but get a clean one. Make sure they about look the same. A little press in there. Send that a little closer. Pretty good from the edge. Looks about the same as the other side. Wipe some of the glue off. Okay. All right, we'll leave that for a little while just to let the glue dry some, and the next thing we're going to do is put the top ridge on. All right, my edge vents are, my end pieces are probably dry enough that I can handle this. So I've got my chimney, and I picked out two of the ridge pieces. Now, I overbent these a little bit, meaning a little smaller angle than goes on here. And what we're going to do, and don't worry about if the little white shows, we'll clean that up, is we're just going to dry fit these. They ought to fit perfectly because they're all laser cut. We're just going to glue them on like this with the, there we go, see, with the chimney being the spacer. So let's start on the one end. And I'll spread some glue on. I'm going to use my finger again. Before I use my finger, find my paper towel. Okay. I think I want to put a little more on the end here. There we go. I got a little glue on the ridge vent, but don't worry about that, because we're going to come along and repaint this ridge vent anyway before we put on our ink wash. Make sure you got it flush with the end. You're going to see I've got a lot of glue there, but that'll dry sort of clear. And like I said, we'll cover it up. Okay, that is out to the end, sir. All right. Okay, our next step is we'll just put our chimney there as a spacer. Put some fresh glue. That glue was a little too sticky. There, that may work a little better. That is working quite a bit better. I let my other glue get a little too stingy with my glue. I should have started with a fresher batch. Okay. Oh, but that wasn't wise. That's all right. There we go. See how that chimney fits right between there? All right, let's take that out. Get this pressed down. Again, we're going to paint this before we ink it, so just the ridge vent to get rid of that little bit of white. There we go. All right, let me get rid of my chimney. I'd like that side to be pressed down a little more. If you overbend it, it'll have a tendency to stay down itself. Okay. I'm going to hold that for a second, just to make sure. All right. And I'll be back after this glue dries, and we'll paint it. And then after that paint dries, we'll do a glue wash. So it's been a while, maybe an hour. We're going to assume that the glue is dry enough that I can touch up this top piece. Maybe put a little glue in my tray. There we go. And I'm going to start out with a soft brush. You can maybe see the white that as I split it. So I want to get rid of that white. That's probably some parts I didn't have before. I don't really have to, as long as I don't put too much paint on my brush, I don't have to worry about clogging up the lines up here, because the laser cutter cuts them a little deeper on the edges. That's got to do with the time it takes to get up to speed. So I'm going to put a little dab here. Put on my glasses for that. That's getting a little iffy. got that. Okay. Looks like I can see a little white there. So I'll put a little gray. All right, do I have it up? There's a little white. All right, we're gonna let that dry, and then we'll be back and do my favorite part, which is putting on the dark ink wash and watching this sort of gray blob thing turn into a nice shingled look. I do want to make sure up here I don't put globs. All right. All right, we're going to call it quits. If when it dries, I find some spots, I'll come back and just touch them up. All right, this may be one of my favorite things about building a model, and it's putting on this, I don't know why, but it's putting on this dark ink wash. I just enjoy it because it takes that sort of flat gray and turns it into something that really does look like shingles. So I'm out of it, I'm making a mess, but this is all I'm doing. I'm going to put about maybe an ounce of this 91% alcohol in here. It's 91%. Like I said other times, I got this in Walmart. Don't get the 70, get the 91. Set that out of the way. I'm going to put probably 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm not sure. I can't get that third drop off. All right. 3, 4, 5. We'll go with 5 today and see how that works. Put that up there. Close it up and shake it up. These are little 4-ounce, I think they're 4-ounce ball jars. You store this stuff in. Oops. It wasn't sealed perfectly. That's not too good. Find my paper towel. Always gotta have a paper towel handy. All right. I also brought along this is just something that'll hold this up a little bit. This happens to be a little box of bolts. All right, so when I want to hold that up, I can, but all I'm going to do is dip my brush in the ink wash, then I'm just going to tap it. And I'm just going to let the ink flow, do it randomly. I'll probably get the whole surface a little bit, and then I'll come and get other parts more. But I do not want a consistent look here. And I may put a little more toward the center, I'm not sure this is going to be dark enough for what I want. I may have to add a little more ink. But I'm just patting it. This will fill in those places where you could see a little bit of wood. It'll fill those in. All right. I am going to add a little more ink. I'd like that to come out a little darker. We'll let that dry a little bit while I'm doing it. See how we're looking. All right, I put in another 4 drops. I'm going dark. Put this over here. Again, just shake it up a little bit. Now as I come back, I'll leave it. This still doesn't seem to be that it's working that well. All right, let's leave that a second. I put more toward the center. Put a little dab right here below the chimney. So you can go like that, and you'll have little areas. It'll be, I shouldn't have made that so symmetric. There we go. When this dries, it'll give a sort of a, almost like a textured look. All right, I'm going to let that dry just for a second. Then I'm going to flip it and start looking at the other side. Flip it. And I'll do the same thing to the other side. I like to get it all sort of wet once, just to make sure I've filled in all the wood that did not get painted. You'll get this ink, so you'll see no wood on it when you look after this, where before I could see a little wood where the sponge didn't get down in. There we go. I'll let that dry for a second, then I'll go and blotch it up. Dip a little more here. All right, I'm going to leave that for a minute. Now I'm going to go back and look at the other side. Ah, there it's starting to dry, and we can see some of the variation that's happening. Yep. Yeah, that's one thing I love about this hobby. You get to make a mess. At least I do. I've got a very, 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 very tolerant wife. Grandma is very tolerant to me. I think you could ask any of my neighbors and they would agree wholeheartedly with me that she is very tolerant of me. All right, I'm going to close up and just wait a few minutes and see how this looks. I may come back and do a little more. We'll see. Since the two roof pieces didn't overlap, but they just butted, at this point right here, there's a little gap. And we're going to fill that gap in. It's on both sides. We're going to fill it in just by using a little of our joint compound, a toothpick. Doesn't take much. Just want to fill it in and then we'll put a little trim paint on it as we clean up the edges. Well, that's too much. That's too much also. There we go. Now I use the other end to just sort of smooth it out. Right, we do the other side too. There we go. And we'll come along with our trim paint. We're going to clean up these edges with our trim paint, and we're going to paint under here with our trim paint. After this dries, and we're going to give it a while to dry. That's our next and almost final step with this roof. I'm ready to sort of finish up my roof by cleaning up the trim along the edges. First I'll take some very fine sandpaper. This is 600, and just I put the joint compound to fill up the little hole, just very lightly, going to make sure that's sort of flat, just very lightly, and do it on the other end also. I flattened it with my toothpick but when I put it on, but there could be a little, there. Now, I'm going to need my little jig because I also am going to paint the underside here. Paint all this, the trim color, which in my case is barn red. For painting the underside, I'll use this very soft brush. For doing the edges, I'll do this very stiff brush. Again, going backside and just doing this. And in this case, hopefully not getting any color on the roof, any of the trim color on the roof. I'm going to shake up my paint. There we go. All right, I'm going to start with my edges. Just a little bit of paint. Just want to go along the edge. There we go. That joint compound may take a second coat. Yes, I'm holding my breath to do this. I have to do that because and I can rest it if I want. For some reason this morning I'm pretty steady, but if I want I can rest it on my board. There, I've painted the edge and none on the top. So I'll just continue this for all the edges. And I'm not going to bore you with that, but I'll basically, what I'll do here is I'll paint 2 of the edges. There we go. That edge is done. Then I'll do this edge. And then just to keep from maybe messing up, once I get one end and one side done, I'll paint some of the center and let the edge dry so that when I pick it up, I can do the other 2 and not worry about getting my fingers in the fresh paint. See, it's not really affecting the top, but yet we're getting a nice trim edge here. The reason I'm doing this, or we need to do it, is if when you sponge the roof color, the shingle color, you may have sponged over the edge here and messed up your trim. We have a nice base coat that we put on the edges before, so it's pretty easy just to clean this up with one round. There. That's good. Our other looks good. So I'm going to sit that down now in my cradle. It's got the rim pieces on, so it doesn't fit as well. But it fits. And which edge did I not paint? Let me see. I think it did that one. I did not do that one. And I did not, so I can hold it this way. I see a little bit more I want to clean up here. There we go. All right, now I'm going to go around and paint the underside. And I'll paint, you know, like I said before, I've only done 2 of the edges, and I'll only do part of the underside. And we want to go clear. This is going to be the end of our building where the slots are. So we need to paint clear up to those slots. And then I paint clear up to these braces, because the braces will come pretty much to the side of the building. So all we do is, you know, stroke on our paint. We see any problems with anything that we've created, we can, you know, any pieces of the decorative trim that we haven't gotten, we can touch them up now. This is going to sort of be our last painting on the roof. So we want to go, like I said, from pretty much these slots and these edges, paint that entire surface. Now on the outside, I guess I might as well complete this. I'm not very talkative this morning, so I got no wisdom, but I'll clear out here. And then along the edge here, I'll go back to my thin brush to get that outside edge, because I don't want to spill over onto the roof. Very near the end here. Wait, this is where we don't want to screw up. Not that it's not recoverable, it just would take us more time. There we go. Looks pretty good. And then I think I'll just keep painting until I run out of paint. There we go. All right, so I'm going to let this dry. Then I'll do the exact same thing on the other two sides, on this one side and the other edge, and I'll paint the bottom on the other. And since it'll be dry, I won't have to worry about getting my fingers painted. then putting them in the wrong place. Okay, I'll finish this up off camera and we'll be back for our next step.